Good morning, muffins. Wow, long time no see. Yeah. So, I was bored once again, and I decided to combine a few of my favorite things this time: VR, simulations, and differential equations. Have y'all ever seen those chaotic equations where the trajectory of the particles form beautiful geometric shapes? Most of these are what's called chaotic differential equations, where one starts with a point in some space, and the change of its positions depends on its coordinate value at each moment. Now, the most famous one by far is the Lorenz attractor, where its butterfly wings-like shape likely helped coin the term butterfly effect, and led to the study of chaos theory. In many of these equations, small differences in initial condition can lead to huge differences in value after some time, which is why they are called chaotic, meaning they are hard to predict. They are also called attractors, since the trajectory tends to end up going into a sort of a loop where they are confined to a specific surface, yet they can still have very diverse paths each iteration. The particle will never go back to an exact same spot as before, so the graph never repeats. I'll keep the coding part concise. The technical details aren't really something to stress over. To let users input their own equations, I use the math input field of the Cortex.js library. It can also take the expression and evaluate the function by substituting x, y, and z value into it. Then I made a section for boxes to define where the particle starts. You can also choose what color the line will be. Now, we can use the A-frame library to make VR apps on an HTML site. First, we put an embedded VR scene on the page. Inside the scene, we can add objects to the 3D space as HTML tags, just like diffs and paragraphs on a regular 2D web page. To calculate where a particle will be at the next animation frame, note that the change of the x, y, z values are proportional to the output of the defined function. Thus, we can just take the value for change and update x, y, and z accordingly by a small proportion of it. Then, we can repeat this at every small interval, and we'll get a curve that looks smooth when zoomed out. This is called the Euler method. More sophisticated methods can be used, but for our use case here, it will suffice. Finally, for each frame of the animation, we just need to move the coordinate of the particles and add line segments to the trajectory curve objects. Well, took me long enough. The site is of course made to support VR devices, so put on your headset if you have one. Otherwise, it works very well on desktop and tablet too. Now it's time for the B-roll showcasing the functions y'all are waiting for. One thing to note when playing with it yourself, the numerical time step argument here needs to be adjusted sometimes. Some equations with very large coefficients gives very large numbers, and it can shoot the xyz coordinate number to infinity. So we need smaller intervals to keep it stable, while some others take way too long to loop back, so it is wise to increase the interval value. As usual, if you want to play with the site yourself, the links are in the description. There is also an export section and the comment section on the site where you can share the equations you designed. The code is also open source on GitHub, so feel free to poke around and leave a star if you're as bored as I am. Well, that's it for today. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you don't like, please leave a comment telling me how I can improve. And subscribe if you want to see more. See you, Nara.